Talk about low-budget flights. No food or movies? I'm out of here. I like running better. Welcome back, YouTube viewers, to another video. So before I get into today's topic, I'd like to remind you all about my 100 subscriber goal by June 11th. It's already June 2nd, so I only have a little over a week, but I am at 94 subscribers, so I should be able to reach that with your support. So today, I'm not going to do something I'd usually do. Instead of doing a movie review or some kind of analysis, today I'm going to do some kind of, still analysis, but more of a general analysis, which is what makes a great hero and villain. Now, normally I wouldn't do something like this, but I figured I didn't really have many ideas, and I wanted to do something different this time. And my next video is going to be a big one, so I want to do something like this right now. So without further ado, let's do it to it. So a first great example of a hero and villain would be Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Doom from the Fantastic Four. Now, if you haven't read Fantastic Four from the 1960s, so issue 1 to say issue 60 something, I'd say about 67, wherever that, if you read that far, you know there's a story that ends around there. So that is some of the best comics. Those are some of the best comics ever written. Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, writer and artist for Fantastic Four, amazing stuff. And the stuff they did with Mr. Fantastic and Doctor Doom was just such a great hero and villain rivalry. As we learn, they were college roommates. Mr. Fantastic, or Reed Richards, came from, a rich, nice family, except even though he was really smart, Reed Richards wasn't snobby. He was a really nice, kind guy. But Doctor Doom, or Victor Von Doom, coming from gypsies and a cruel world and being a jerk, he was mean and snobby, and he ended up performing an experiment on himself that permanently disfigured his face. So he put on the mask, eventually conquered a country, and became Doctor Doom. So their whole rivalry here, I suppose, is just that Doctor Doom really hates Reed and wants to prove that he's smarter than him, I suppose. In fact, spoilers for Fantastic Four Annual 2. But the climax of the story is after Doctor Doom has defeated the entirety of the Fantastic Four, Reed has somehow come out, still around, but for his ultimate challenge, Doom and Reed engage in this battle of the minds. And as Doom says, whoever has the stronger mind will survive, but whoever loses will be trapped in limbo forever. And Reed seemingly loses as Doom walks away in joyousness triumph. But nope, he lost. And Reed actually used this thing Doom made earlier to make each member of the FF make them see illusions. He gave it to Doom, so Doom thinks he won, but he really didn't. And this way, Doom also won't attack the Fantastic Four again because he thinks he beat them. Yeah, that's really all there is to say about these two. It's just the nice, kind, smart guy versus the super evil, mean, smart guy. And the evil guy just hates the other guy because he's jealous of him, I suppose. I mean, Doctor Doom is a great villain, don't get me wrong. He's an amazing villain back in the 60s, and Reed Richards was a great character. This is before they gave him a beard or made him angry or made him morally inconsistent and gray or whatever. No. Here, he's not perfect, but he's just this really nice, kind, smart guy that would do anything for his friends. And when you contrast that with just the most evil man on the planet, as the captions say, yeah, that's a pretty good hero-villain rivalry. Then, of course, being this channel, I could not go without mentioning Po and Shen from Kung Fu Panda 2. I mean, yeah, I do like Tai Lung from the first movie a little more as the villain, but it's not like he and Po really have much of a rivalry, because Shen is directly tied to Po. After all, by trying to change his fate, he only sealed it. So the thing here is just that the first two Kung Fu Panda villains work especially well, because while Po embraces the theme of the story, the villain rejects it, and that leads to the villain's destruction. Here it's Po saw his past for what it was. It may have been super traumatic, but that happened. He has to move on from it and grow. While Shen refused to move on from his past and still clung to his anger from it, and he ended up getting killed because of it. And the entire final battle is just amazing. as Poe stands in front of all Shen's entire fleet of cannons as the music kicks in, and he briefly forms the yin yang symbol and chants inner peace, inner peace, inner peace. It's also just funny to see this kind of, he's not nervous, but when you see a guy like Poe contrasted with Shen, who is super serious, Shen is the practically the textbook definition of the evil mastermind supervillain. He has this tragic backstory, I guess, except it's more like, yeah, he was always in the wrong. He's just obsessed with revenge, angry at the world, and wants to subjugate it. As a star, anyway. And he's just pure evil through and through. He's the most evil DreamWorks villain by far, even more evil than Jack Horner, probably. And Poe defeats him, and he's this nice, kind guy that's kind of humorous. We all know Poe. He also just makes it funnier when you have Shen practicing his greeting to Poe as he says, "So we meet at last, Panda." And then when he actually meets him, he doesn't really get to say it because Poe is Poe. Then, of course, once again, this channel is called Archie Sonic Fan. Can't go this whole video without mentioning Sonic and Eggman, specifically the Archie Comics version. I could mention the Sonic Boom version. I think that version is easily a close second, where it's just this snarky, kind of arrogant, egotistical, but still nice guy that cares about others, versus this grumpy, mean, selfish guy that is also kind of not stupid, but more like, because I don't even really know how to describe Boom Eggman in that regard. He's not clueless. He's just kind of hard to take seriously, which is the point. And the reason that works is and compared to the games is that this version of Eggman is supposed to be some kind of goofball villain. He's not the guy that blew up half the moon. And Sonic, well, this is okay. Well, anyway, I guess this is turning into a Boom talk, but which I could do another video on, which I'd like to do sometime. But that works because it's the most cartoony versions of the characters. Yeah, they don't feel the most cartoony. If anything, they feel like they have more personality than every single version of these characters except for Archie. Pre-boot Archie, of course. It's this nice, arrogant, snarky, I guess kind of like Boom, but still really kind, compassionate guy that loves his friends, loves the world, loves running around, but still likes to take things, but is still okay with, just taking things moment by moment, but taking things slowly. And and of course, he's in this post-apocalyptic world being ruled by an insane dictator, psychopath madman who hates everybody and left his own nephew to die rotting in a jail cell. Yeah, that's Archie Eggman for you. The guy that told all of his people that you can either A, be roboticized, me and my mindless slaves, C, be roboticized eventually anyway and be frozen as statues forever, but you don't have to give in to me, or C, you can, or, well, really, you can just let yourself die from radiation poisoning. Yeah, that's some really messed up stuff. Which makes it all the more great when you get to see Sonic finally come out on top, beating him up whenever he does, which it doesn't happen that often because Archie Eggman is Archie Eggman. Never mind the fact that Archie Eggman is still really entertaining, even though he's super sadistic. As it's been noted by Low Art before, you take the way past insanest era, as some of us fans call it, from the Sonic Adventure adaptation to Tossed in Space, which is a huge span of issues. It's the manic energy of the gag era at the beginning, infused with Carl Bollers, who wrote most of these stories, this weird sense of humor. You get this super bizarre dark comedy that's also way more entertaining than you would think. And of course the entire rest of the comic. Of course, we got a picture here from issue 175. This is the scene right before the famous Limit! Limit! One of the best scenes in all Sonic, of course, if not the best. Then there's just what I really wanted to highlight because I've never really heard anyone talk about this before. I wanted to include at least one rivalry for Ninjago of a hero and a villain. But the first one that came to my mind that I thought I could actually get a lot out of was, funnily enough, Sensei Wu and Iron Baron in Season 9. I think Season 9 is underrated. It's easily the best season of the Oni trilogy. Because for me, it was the last perfect season of Ninjago. And to say that, how many seasons of Ninjago are perfect? Well, honestly, I'd say the first 5 and Season 9. I really don't have any problems with them whatsoever, at least not any major problems. So, yeah, I think Iron Baron's a really good villain. He's a lot more realistic than other Ninjago villains, as in what he does. He manipulates the other dragon hunters by taking control of their fear and becoming their king, essentially. And whenever they question him, he just yells, "Question me, and I'm gonna kill all of you." And they know he's gonna do it too. As all the hunters are told by Faith, he claims to have risked our greatest hunters um to get the dragon blade. But how do we know it was not him who took their lives? And yeah, he definitely did. He lied about say these he gave all these crazy stories about how he defeated armies of Oni, but once the dragon hunters are in Oni land, they never see a single Oni because he lied about it. They left these lands long ago. They're not still here. He's just trying to keep the other hunters in fear of them so he can rule them. As he even tells Sensei Wu, I told them exactly what they wanted to hear. And in return, all I ask is for them to treat me like a king. Is that so wrong? And Sensei Wu, well, of course, I like Sensei Wu's arc here because he actually gets an arc. We see him grow into the great sensei that we all know him to be. He gets to beat up guys with the staff, he gets to wear his hat again. And it's just great how he learns something from all the ninja throughout this season. Confidence, humor, um, loyalty, I suppose, or determination. But he also learned something from Iron Baron, the power of lies. He lied to Iron Baron that the dragon armor would give him complete control of Firstborn. So when he actually got the armor, confronted Firstborn shot lava and killed him. And then of course Firstborn and all the other dragons gave their loyalty to Sensei Wu. Because he was the hero. I also think Iron Baron is a really menacing voice too. I like his design as well. You got the huge hat with the eye and the peg leg and the huge staff. Really makes him look like this aged guy who's done a ton of crazy stuff. And boy, has he definitely done a lot of messed up stuff. Then, of course, I don't think I've ever mentioned Ben 10 on this channel. I should. You can't go wrong with Ben 10 versus Albedo. I love Ben 10 Omniverse. It's one of my favorite, top 10 all-time favorite shows. Ben 10 Omniverse is somewhere on that list. I also love the classic series a lot. Alien Force and Ultimate Alien, which are where Albedo is introduced. They're not as good, but they're good. And yeah, honestly, the episode Good Copy, Bad Copy, where Albedo debuts, is probably my favorite episode of Alien Force. As Ben is told by Kevin, "Hey, you should consider yourself lucky. You know you're a superhero now. You've got an evil twin." Because Albedo is just so funny. Especially in Omniverse when he impersonates Ben for a while. He starts using all these big words, and it seems like he's become this more mature version of Ben. But then you see stuff like him scarfing down chili fries. Chili fries with a disgusting amount of onions. And that makes him seem, yeah, this is still definitely Ben. But also just funny too, he's so arrogant and snobby and selfish and egotistical. And then of course he's obsessed with chili fries. We all know that. There's an entire compilation of every time he talks about chili fries. I stopped for chili fries. I've acquired a human weakness for the delicacy. You disgust me with this miasma you call food. Everything human reeks. Probably the onion. All the same, I find myself craving the entire putrid experience. It must be in the DNA. Now, how does this contrast to Ben? I don't even know. They're both just kind of guys with a bit of an ego, except, well, Ben is just a bit of an ego. He's definitely got one. Albedo's a super villain, so he's super self-absorbed. And I just want an excuse to talk about Albedo, really. Especially one of his final scenes, where after he loses his MODOK-looking, super advanced Galvan form, goes back to being this warped-looking version of Ben, as he screams, "Oh no, the hormones, the incessant fried food cravings. What could be worse than being a 16-year-old version of Ben Tennyson?" And then he turns into a 10-year-old version of Ben, and he just cries. Such brilliant stuff. Lastly, there's of course Optimus Prime and Megatron. I want to specifically highlight the animated version, and other versions are great too. G1, of course, is a classic. Peter Cullen and Frank Welker. Prime is good. It's mostly like a Megatron is really what sells Prime for me in their dynamic. Not so much Optimus, but great version of Megatron there though. But or I like the Cyberverse version, even though that one is not super developed. I've never seen Armada, but apparently it goes into the dilemma of Optimus Prime and Megatron and how Optimus kind of wants to keep on going with this endless fight because he's so used to it, apparently. It sounds pretty interesting, but the animated version is especially interesting to me because here Optimus Prime is just some young guy that's unsure of himself and is constantly told, don't try to be a hero, it's not in your programming. And then he comes face to face with the most evil, maniacal, cold, calculating villain in the entire universe who until the final episode and one of the final scenes no less, he just calls Optimus Autobot and all the Autobots except for I don't know Ultra Magnus Autobot. And then of course at the end, yeah, he finally calls Optimus Optimus Prime, and Optimus just says, "So you can remember my name." And even though it takes him so long to remember his name, it's pretty clear that as the show goes on, Megatron does start to remember that this guy is actually worth considering as a threat. I mean, he's still alive by the beginning of season 3, so Megatron knows that his plans are failing. And as he says, it seems you and I are destined to battle once more aboard this ship. It's great stuff. And that's all I gotta say for this video, so comment down below. Are there any hero-villain dynamics you could think of that I didn't mention that maybe you could give a quick explanation on why they're really good? That's all for now, and as always, keep on juicing!